listening to the Autry Show on the best talk in town. Talk Radio 1550 KXEX. Call Alan now, 559-899-1550.
And welcome to Taco Tuesday, although we're taco-less here in the studio. All I have to say is, wow. Are you freaking kidding me? Unfortunately, not. I dreamed last night that this administration raided the home of a former president of the United States, Donald J. Trump. Whether you love him, hate him, or in between, they let's just get right to it. Guillermo Bob dismissed with this. I'm an eternal optimist, but this is so far across the Rubicon line of what's acceptable behavior by a government agency that we're supposed to trust, the FBI, and the lies have begun. Get what kind of fool do you think I am ready to go, Jeremy? Because in a second I want to play a little bit because it'll calm me down. Because you want to know an old dude that's triggered? You're looking at him and hearing him right now. I've been triggered since the moment I heard this. It takes a lot to trigger me. It really does at this age. I can get passionate, but getting full-fledged trigger, I'm there. And you're saying, oh, you're this right-wing, you this left-wing. No, don't give me that.
You're right-winger.
Ah, now you're going. There you go. Let me tell you, honest to goodness, as I'm sitting here, if they would have done this, the FBI, to Joe Biden, say that it was reversed, or Barack Obama, I have a lot of questions about what Obama did and what he said he did in terms of veracity with the public, what he's got stashed away in his home, or what have you. But to do this, okay, I'll ask you, start doing, Guillermo. Do you think I'm overreacting?
I don't think you're overreacting. When I first heard the news, I wanted to pause because it's wrong. However, we need all the facts to come out, because I don't want to be one of those that rushes to judge. The left does that. The left rushes to judgment, and anything the government does is above board. That's the way the left operates. So you have a lot of people rushing to judgment on both sides. I don't want to rush to judgment just yet. I'm over, and I know everyone's going to get mad on me. I
already am.
But listen, we
didn't take long.
We know what was wrong. However, and they tell you this in law school all the time, the law doesn't care about how you feel. All right, the law doesn't care about how you feel. I remember a law professor asked me a question. I said, "Well, I feel like," and then I get, no, Mr. Moreno, the law doesn't care about what you feel. Here's the law. Apply the facts to the law, and this is why a lot of people get off.
Do you in your law also equal application to the law? Did you guys study that?
So actually, we didn't.
Well, obviously the left didn't either.
Yeah, con law. I might have been asleep at some point.
If they went in there for the reason they said they went in there, to recover presidential documents that belong to
the White House menu, I'm sure it was.
Every single president has taken some things, some artifacts, and there's a thing called the subpoena process that you go through first before you unleash the freaking 20 agents of the FBI to bust down your door.
Yeah.
This is becoming a frequent thing. If it can happen to the president, Roger Stone, all those folks, it could happen to you folks. But I'm going to come back to you. Bobby, your thoughts.
I'm not done, but Bob.
Finish up. I was rude to interrupt you.
No, that's okay.
You finish your thought. Go ahead. And I was rude because I freely admit I'm triggered. I got to restrain myself. Well, this is a dark, dark day for American democracy. This is a transgression that is seismic. Our country will never be the same in my lifetime. I'm old, but in our kids' lifetime. The mess, to clean up this mess, the trust that has been violated here with invading a former president's home, who may be the opponent of the present president, strictly because of politics, over some artifacts. We know why they went in. They don't want something to connect to January 6th, but they're using that as an excuse.
They didn't, Alan.
Go ahead. I'm taking your time.
Quote, unquote.
And my apologies. I'm being a horrible host here.
No, you're
by asking you a question and not letting you answer.
No. So
fully.
There's so much to unravel here, but I want to finish on my thought here. I don't want to be the party that rushes to. Everyone's going to rush to judgment. I think that happened as soon as this happened. But remember that there are laws that aren't followed. We know that. But I want to be in a position where, because guess what? You know what they say? You know the old saying, payback's a butter cup, right?
Yes.
So I want to be very calm and say, you know what? It happened. Now, like you said, I want an equal application because we're going to do this too. This will happen on our watch. But we got to make sure that when we do it above board. So am I triggered that this happened? I am, but we have to remember, let's look at the facts. Let's look at the law. They're not going to be able, because they've never been able to do it in the last 4 years. They've never been able to apply a law that Trump actually broke to the set of facts. So we can't get emotional. We can't go out there and wave our Trump flags. Let's tone it down a little bit, and let's just realize that there's a set of laws and there's a set of facts. Those don't match up. It ain't going to happen, because we're going to have our day too.
Yeah. Bobby, yes, I get what you're saying, but it's not flying the Trump flag. It's the American flag. This brutal bullying of the FBI, and this is not, they continue to do this on a minimal, really stretching the gray area of what is acceptable by law.
Mm-hmm.
Because you got to prove to a judge what you're looking for, number one, is important enough to be able to let you go burst in a door. And then number two, what you're looking for, you got to prove to that judge is more than likely in that house.
Well,
now go ahead, Bobby. And that, to me, if they would have immediately did a press conference, being the FBI and the Department of Justice, and this action didn't come without the sign off of Garland.
Without a doubt,
and Ray from them, the FBI director, right, and explain, here's why we did. We still have yet to hear from them.
Oh, silent.
Dadgummit, I tell you, I don't want to call names, but how dare you? How dare you spit in the face of democracy and of 82 million people who voted for life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, for a set of principles, conservative principles, not just Trump, a set of timeless conservative principles of law and burdensome taxation for American individuals, families, and corporations, for freedom of education choice, for secure borders, for energy independence. And you personalize it to the point where you feel you can go in with no consequences and break precedent and set a precedent.
Mm-hmm.
And you're already talking about it. The tit for tat that this is going to start, it becomes the Palestinian and the Israelis. Did we not see the bombs going over there in the Middle East recently? They just, you kill someone, we're going to kill some of your guys. You come there simply because you crossed the line you shouldn't have crossed, and they've done it. Bobby, go ahead.
Well, I think that two things. Number one, a situation like this, had it happened to a Democrat, well, take for instance Hillary Clinton. 30,000 plus emails on her personal server,
which was government property. Their family took $28,000 worth of things out of the White House.
We'll look into it. Some fly-by-night investigation. So the law is not being equally applied, in my humble opinion. Second thing, people have asked, well, if they were going to do this,
and you're not a Trump fan.
I'm.
I don't mean to put words in your mouth. Correct me if I'm wrong. You're not flying around the pickup truck with the Trump flag.
I'm not a big Trump fan.
You're just as wrong, isn't it?
But are you going to be now?
It's terrible. Well,
no, it's not about Trump. It's not about Trump.
But it is. Alan.
No, it's not. It's about a party picking. It's just Trump now. It could be you next. He is just the beginning. They want to get rid of this ideology of individual freedoms to the collective.
Don't forget.
Go ahead.
This was the same AG that sent out a specific memo with regard to parents at the school board meeting.
Exactly.
So it's drifted down to that level. Now it's back up to the other level. But here's the other question that people have asked: why, if you're going to do this, we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves. If you're going to make this leap, why not a subpoena versus a search warrant? Which, being a legal eagle, that's a big deal. A subpoena is simply a request for records, whatever you have in your possession. A search warrant, from what I read, the judge who had to sign off on this thing had to show that there was a probable cause of a crime and that evidence of that crime will be in the location that you seek to search. So let me ask you this. That search warrant, is that public record?
It can be.
So you could go in and see what specific, because they have to be specific.
They haven't released it yet.
They haven't released. You have to be specific in this search warrant. It says, here's what we're looking for, and we believe that it's in this location, and we believe as a result of those records being in this location that a crime has been committed. I'd be really interested to see what the specifics of that search warrant were. But this whole thing's just a big time mess.
Well, yeah, and that goes back to what I said. You there has to be a law there. I mean, they have to prove that, hey, listen,
right?
These documents are there. This is what we believe. This is the crime. This is the law that has been broken.
To be a crime,
exactly. And this is the, if he committed murder, hey, the murder weapon is there. It's got his blood. It's got his hair on it. I mean, that's the type of thing that I should expect. And it better not be something where like, oh, well, the president took a document that, it was going to be the White House menu when we invited over a certain guest. It better not be that.
Let me tell you, I'm not a conspiracy theorist at all. Pretty pragmatic. I believe Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone. Okay?
Did we land on the moon?
Yeah, we were on the moon. The way they're going about this, now this is going to get me in trouble. I have such a low estimation of the integrity of the FBI and a well-earned low expectation. I'm not the only one in America sees this. FBI agents out on the field are some of the best in the business. They're honorable people that still want to just do the right thing. They're non-political. They'll put their life on the line for Barack Obama and Donald Trump to protect them. It would not surprise me one bit if they didn't plant evidence. They went in there to plant something that's tied to January 6th. This is not about what bogus, picky excuse to go and burst down a guy's door and burst into their home. And in the middle of negotiating, as every president before him did, of what to return, because there's a lot of nebulous gray area in that. What belongs to the president, what belongs to the country. For example, he has a letter from Barack Obama to him and taken over, left on his desk. These National Archives say that's ours. And Trump said, well, no, it's directed to me. So he took it. So this is that a reason to go in and burst into a person's home? Because I'm telling you, there's something to this. Folks, you better listen. And they CNN saying, well, you better remember this day, the 8th, when this happened, as if it's one of the greatest things that ever happened. Yeah, you better remember this date, because this is the date when they felt it was okay to go with the flimsiest, concocted reasons to burst into a person's home. You're next. Let me tell you, that's not, I know I come from a movie background, but I'm not being overly dramatic when I say that. You are next. This is unfreaking believable what the FBI has done. This is worse than way back in the FBI of J. Edgar Hoover when he was just indiscriminately bugging Martin Luther King's home, and under the guise that he was trying to warn, Martin Luther King about the communists luring him in. They were a lying, cheating, politically driven organization. It wasn't about Elliot Ness running around taking in Al Capone. Yay, yay, FBI. This thing has morphed into a gargantuan, abusive mountain of power that can do just about anything, and it needs to be broken up.
Alan, and
it needs to be broken up into smaller pieces.
Absolutely agree. You know what the left is doing right now? They're saying this isn't enough. Well, you have individuals that have comments, and you have a lot of JFK Democrats that woke up this morning and said, you know what? This is too far. You have a lot of lefties that are saying, all right, hey, you know what? Because they know what they have on their side too. Like, why'd you go and do that? You know they're going to do that when we come into power. But to me, this didn't all come down yesterday, because I knew that the FBI was abusive in their tactics. I think everybody has known that. And I had a guy from January 6th sitting right there where Bob the Bullet was. And he sat, it must have been about 4 or 5 months after that. He sat there and he told me, Guillermo, my marriage is in shambles. I lost my job. The FBI showed up. They went into my home. They took whatever they wanted. I have an attorney in D.C. that was appointed. He doesn't talk to me. He won't give me a shred of evidence. I don't get anything that is against me. He sat right there trying to raise his own money for his own defense. This was a couple months after it. And then here locally, I have another friend in a wheelchair. Nice guy. I mean, does he stir the pot a little bit? He stirs the pot a little bit. He was there on January 6th. Happened in our county. FBI came in, tore his house.
Did he go into the Capitol?
He did not go into the Capitol.
Okay. There's two segments there.
Yeah.
The ones that went into the Capitol, I have a whole set of different standards for. You go in there and you bust it down, well, hey, you know what's going to be waiting for you. So if you were just there protesting.
Yeah.
And so he was not inside the Capitol.
He didn't make it inside. Okay. And he told me the same thing. He goes, Guillermo, they came in, man, they trashed my place. He goes, they took stuff. They took my hard drives. And the funny story, the irony is they ended up giving him back his documents, and they made a mistake. And I don't want to say because I don't want to get the guy in trouble. I want the FBI to start coming over here and taking my documents here next. But I wouldn't be surprised. But I knew that we had January 6th did change America, but it changed it, I believe, in ways that a lot of people don't understand. And now that this has happened to Trump, because this has been happening to Americans, great Americans that did some stupid stuff on January 6th, like you said, the people that were just hanging out. I mean, this is no due process.
This is absolutely a message to everyone who voted for Trump that you're next.
Oh, but they're not done with Trump.
No, they're not done with Trump, of course, but they want us. Now, I'm a supporter of individual rights. That's why they've meshed this thing that if you believe in traditional American values, you must be a Trumper.
Or racist.
So they don't distinguish.
Right.
You can say I'm a bullet I'm a Reagan Republican. How about just an American that believes in individual rights and individual liberties? That's where we should be on this. And that is their worst enemy. Trump, people come, people go. Presidents go, people die in office. They want to squash and get rid of the ideology. Trump was just the first one that came in and was wired in a certain way, going, I'm going to take a wrecking ball to this. Media, you're biased. You're fake news. Okay, this needs to be changed over here with North Korea. He says, okay, we got bigger bomb. He said, look, we need to be energy independent. We need to have a secure border. And he did it. He built the wall. He did what many, many Americans believe should be done. And you finally had a crazy enough politician get into office and do that. So they have to make an example of him, not just get him out of office, completely destroy him. And there's no difference between what this FBI did, in my opinion, going in. I would just say this. I think Biden now is feeling his oats. He took Zahari out with a drone. He's taking enemies out left and right with the FBI. And for Joe Biden to sit there and say, I didn't know this was coming. Give me a break.
That's my other issue in this whole thing.
Dude,
nobody knew anything.
Did the tall tales ever begin, end, and the truth begins anywhere with this guy?
Nobody knew anything.
Would we really even know the truth if he said it? I mean, if he came up and said, I think In Heathen Night's a good show, I would say, no, it's not. You're lying. And I was in it, and I thought it was a pretty good show. Because he said it, I'd say no, because he always lies. He always lies. You can't believe a thing he says. And then he comes out and says, come on, Joe. Come on, man. This ain't you battling corn pop. This is the FBI that went in front of America and the world. Yeah. This is third world banana republic crap.
It is. And I texted you last night. This is all about, they don't care about the documents. They don't care about anything. They don't care about you. They don't care about me.
They want to find something January 6th.
They want that, but they want Donald Trump in handcuffs, and they don't want him to run again. And they also need him. The left needs him because at the end of the day, the only thing that the left is successful on is running against Trump. They defeated us in 2020, and that's another conversation for another day. But guess what? We're in an election year, and guess who's taking front and center. What are we, 4 months away from the election? You know why? Because this is the only issue that they know how to run on.
I think you're absolutely
That's
right,
it.
which makes the FBI action even more egregious. They've clearly picked a political party to be an instrument of. They're not the FBI anymore.
And all of that falls in line with what's the timing of this whole thing.
Absolutely. The midterms, they
exactly.
That's all it is.
There's. I mean, look, I'm not the brightest bulb in the chandelier, to quote some of your old phrases. What is it? I'm not the
brightest chrome on the bumper.
Brightest chrome.
Yeah, but you're not flickering. You're not flickering right now, Bob. You're on.
But I'm telling you, if a guy like me,
I'm settling down. I'm not quite as triggered.
Yeah,
pissed off as hell.
I could tell.
Go ahead.
You need to relax.
I'm trying.
Don't get triggered. There you go. Take it from this millennial pissant here.
But if a guy like me can figure this out, are you better now?
I'm better. Much better. Always better when I channel Elvis, baby. That was one.
But if a guy with my
hey, he'd say,
small
"Come on, FBI. You don't bust into Trump's office. You check into Heartbreak Hotel, baby. Come on now. Come on. I'm just a hunk of burning love, and so is Trump. What you doing there? What's this fella Comey doing? Oh, he ain't there anymore? What's this fella Ray? Come on now. Let me sing you a little trilogy. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Where do I go?
I don't know.
Where do I go from that?
I don't know. I am so flustered with
my
this.
My point is, if a guy like me can figure out, kind of put the dots together, this is so stinking obvious that it's almost, well, it's ridiculous. But again, all of this is not by chance. All of this just didn't happen overnight. This thing was well planned, well thought out. And then you have guys, folks like Pelosi and Schumer. I didn't know what was going on. I found out when you guys found out.
This is
the White House. We didn't know what was going on. Are you kidding?
Unbelievable.
I was born at night, but it wasn't last night.
I fell out of the truck, but didn't land on my head.
Yeah,
everything applies there.
Yeah, exactly.
But isn't this like what the wokesters are doing on the left? What this insanity that's been unleashed by the Democratic Party? It's like the old saying. You're in a boat and you're saying to the people over there in the front, "You're into the boat sinking." We're all going to sink if you don't stop this nonsense.
They don't see it that way, Al.
You're going to take this entire country down, which begs the question, is that what they want? To sink this, to start all over again? I do believe that. I think as every day goes by, you're seeing this burn it down, build it back better thing, not just applying to economics, but all of our institutions. We sent just another $50 billion, I think, to Ukraine. When do you run out of money? And I'm looking over going, you know what? Xi Jinping's taking a page right out of our playbook. Ronald Reagan beat the Soviet Union economically.
Mm-hmm.
He shut them down. He says, we're going to have an arms race. And you can't afford to do it. And what are they going to do? They're going to get us spending so much domestically, so much foreignly. Well, it's set up when they go in to take Taiwan, we're not going to have any resources.
Which they are going to do.
They're Let me ask this, Guillermo.
2 years.
Do you think that the people on the left, people that are wagging the dog out there, and this ideology that seems to have seeped into heretofore, minds that had some kind of sanity left, like Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, I disagree with them, politically, but they had some common sense left. Now they're bowing to this woke left thing, and to think that this FBI action is really something that's good for the country and justified. Do you think what they want to see is Trump handcuffed, being walked into prison?
Yes.
You think that is what they won't stop short of getting that? Is that?
Yes.
Absolutely. Not only that, they don't care what the crime is or
the cost
or any crime. I remember I was in high school, San Joaquin Memorial. I read a book called The Trial by Franz Kafka. It was about a man that they drove crazy because I believe they put him under arrest. They never told him anything. They never told him what he was there for. I mean, this was some real fiction at the time, some real fiction stuff, and it drove him crazy. He ended up killing himself. I believe that's how the book ended. They want to see Trump just like that. They don't care what the crime is. They want to see him in an orange jumpsuit, with his hands behind his back, and they want to see him in prison for any reason. That's what they feel it needs to be done. They have so much hatred inside of them. They don't care if in your analogy, they don't care if the boat goes down if it takes down Trump.
It's like those scorpion and the frog. You know, the scorpion, the story, the scorpion goes to the, well, it's a very appropriate. Scorpion goes to the frog. There's a pond there. Scorpion can't swim. Asks the frog, hey, can you give me a ride over there on your back? The frog said, you crazy? No, what? He says, you're a scorpion. You're going to sting me. I'm going to die.
Yeah.
He goes, no, if I die, if I'm on your back out in the middle of that pond and I sting you, we're both going to die. I'm not going to sting you. The frog said, well, it seemed like.
Yeah, it's logical.
Hop on. Gets on there. They get halfway across the pond. Bam. The scorpion stings him. And the frog's there going his death throes as they're going under, going, why? Why'd you do that? Scorpion says, because I'm a scorpion.
That's really good. That's a really good. Yeah.
That's the woke left. They would kill themselves. I used to Pearl Bullet used to back off from saying this, but now I'm a full-fledged believer. The Democratic Party, especially the woke left, this ideology, this hate Trump, this burn down America, has become a religion. I would die for my faith in Jesus. If they told me to disavow Jesus or be beheaded, take it off. I'm not going to disavow Jesus. I really do believe, especially at 70 years old. My last words are not going to be, I rebuke Jesus, okay? But I think they would actually die to see their revenge exacted on Trump. And if they would stop and take a breath, Bobby, let me ask you this. If that visage came through to them, they get that optic, they get Trump in. If that process works out the next couple of years, Biden wins and say the Republicans don't take the House and this stuff goes forward with this Trump, and they do get what they want. Isn't it sad but safe to say that you now have a civil war in this country, that you have a line of demarcation in ideologies and beliefs and values and principles that are just too big to compromise on? You've got the ones on the left saying gender neutral. There's no such thing as a mother and a father, a brother and a sister. On the other side, you say, hey, we're not going to ever acknowledge that. You're over here saying God should not be a part of anything. Public square, schools, nothing. You have these over here saying it. Over here you say, hey, we have a right because we are so right in our politics that we have a right to weaponize any department we have to impose our will on you all or anybody we please because we're right. We are so right. No negotiation. So we reserve that right. We want to change the Constitution because we can't get our way. Add more judges because we don't like what the judges are doing. We're going to pack the court. We're going to bring in Puerto Rico and Washington, D.C. to guarantee that we win every election with those electors. We legalize 25 million immigrants that are here illegal. Let them vote. And how do you compromise with it?
You don't.
Then you have two countries.
Well,
you have two countries.
I think we're almost there now.
Well,
I'm asking.
I don't think we are, but go ahead, Bullet.
With the rift so wide right now, everything you've just described is happening right now. Now, heaven forbid we get into any kind. When you say a civil war, do you mean a physical?
Here's what I'm saying: if you get to that point,
I mean, there are a lot of people fed up.
Here's what I'm saying: if you get to that point, and you have a militarized ideology ready to impose, if you take away of the people, by the people, for the people, and individual rights, and you have that, and you say, "Hey, you're part of the United States of America. We're going to come in, disarm you." We're going to take your guns. By the way, your kids are going to stay in this school and learn this. They're going to learn critical race theory. We're not going to allow any kind of vouchers, no school choice. By the way, we're going to tell you what car you can drive, all the way down the line. I think there's enough people that would say, and I'm not calling for this, I'm just being a realist. I don't think half the country is going to lay down their principles and their arms and say, come and take me and take my kids.
I think more than half will say that. I mean, look at COVID. We say you can't go to church. You can't leave your house.
They didn't do it in the South. They
We're
didn't do it in some places in the Midwest.
I think
you're onto something. I think it's going to be a geographical, as it was in the first Civil War over slavery.
That's a good point.
But I think you're going to see. You're already seeing
That's
this.
a very good point.
Well, you're already seeing it. Mass exit. I just had a buddy, very strong conservative. Says I've had it with California.
Yep.
Moved to Tennessee. I had another buddy, tired of California, moved to South Carolina.
Yep.
You're seeing people. You see where I'm going there? I mean, there's this exodus
Our buddy
now.
Steve is heading to Tennessee next year.
Steve,
Big Steve Clark.
is he?
Yeah.
Okay.
Heading to Tennessee.
There you go. I mean, you're starting to see this geographical shift to where you're going to have, I hate to say it, two Americas.
I want to be careful with the Civil War. I don't believe, and I know where you're going with it. I don't believe we're that divided. Because and hear me out here, Alan. Oh man, I'm gonna need about 5 more.
You've been drinking some of that stuff Aaron Rodgers has been drinking. What's it? Ashikawa or what is it? Did you say speaking that psychedelic stuff? You said that's why he had 2 great years.
Listen,
He was higher than a kite.
I want to see you get out of what you just.
All
said.
right.
You've got the floor, man.
Okay,
Go with it.
So look,
explain that.
So I don't believe we're a divided America so much, and I'm saying it again, so much that I wouldn't lay my life down for my opposition right now. If I saw a liberal, or if I saw a liberal in another, except Brittany Griner, she broke the law over there. But if I would band together with my opposition to defeat whatever this country had in front of it. So we're not as divided. We go outside.
Can I ask you something with that while I'm on it? Because things are going in my head now.
Yeah, go.
That's a good point.
Shoot.
How would you band with the other side who refuses to band with you? How do you band with that?
The same way, and I don't want to sound.
No, it sounds good, but how are you going to get some? You're going to get
way,
a pro-choice person. I'm going to side with you because I know you're pro-life. You're going to get somebody you believe in a secure border. You're going to partner. I would say, what topic, what challenge facing America do you think you could get the opposition that you're talking about to work with you on? And I sincerely asking this question, a sincere question.
China trying to take us over.
They're all controlled by China.
They literally, well, no, I mean like a physical, like they were to come over here.
Yeah, but you have an ideology that really thinks the China model is great. Just that Trudeau in Canada. He's a rock star here in America.
They think it's great now.
But when it's all done.
But they think it's great now, but I think when they see it in front of their face, they don't see it in front of their face. They really don't.
So what you're saying, exactly. So when it's said and done, you're under that kind of ideology and it's in power. You think you can extract that power and say, hey, my bad. I really want those personal liberties back that I put on the table that you took. I'd really like to be able to go to the school I want to go to, have my kids go to school. Yeah. I would like to worship where I want to worship, and that's all gone. Give it back. That's not how Marxism works and communism works. And it's not how the woke left wants it, because they want to be China. They think that works really well. Have this free marketish type system to compete on the world markets, but then have a totally subdued and subservient and obedient populace that you can tell to do whatever. From making you notice they don't have union strikes in China.
No, they don't.
They don't have union.
No, they don't.
Right. Okay.
Right.
Okay. So you come in. It's like I know you were making $9 an hour, making that widget, but now you're going to make it for $2.50. But I can't feed my family on $2.50. Well, excuse me, I got to make a phone call. Hey, they want you out behind the building there. Don't pay any attention to the 5 guys with the rifles. It'll be quick. It'll be painless. I mean, that's
we'll tell your family.
Yeah, we'll take care of your family. I'm an eternal optimist. I tell people that. I made a living for 30 years with this face in Hollywood. I have to be an optimist. But it is what it is. Raised in Riverdale, Pearl, we're realists. When the field has to be planted and picked, it has to be planted and picked. There's no shortcut to that. And you look at it, and you have to take reality into account. And the reality is this act from the FBI is a clear example of the next step in this big government abuse of the populace, of individual rights, even if you're a former president. This crosses so many lines. You have a politician who's fearful and a party fearful of that individual running who may get more votes than you. Mm-hmm. And they talk about protecting democracy on CNN, MSNBC, democracy it's under attack. And I'm all for, I'll shut up here. I want you to hear that. I don't know. I'm not convinced of where you can partner with them on anything.
I wish I was that optimistic. I just don't know that if you can close that huge gap between the right and the left.
I pray to God that I'm never in that position to where, because you got to think about it. If we were to partner on something with the left and prove that we're not a divided America, it would have to be something pretty grave. So I hope that this country, I hope it doesn't. But that doesn't mean that I wouldn't say, hey, look, lefty, like I love this country enough. You and I got to work together. It's teamwork, right? Mm-hmm. I'm never going to shut the door on another American and say, no, you believe that way, so I'm never going to team up with you. So I don't think we're divided yet because we still have good in our hearts. The left still has good in their hearts, and we have good in our hearts. So I think when you have, and it's not, and we're not talking about all the left here.
I found out what is what's good. What good is good.
Well, that's a good point. So there are. I don't think we can chastise when you say the left. I think there are enough moderate Democrats, reasonable Republicans, reasonable independents, whatever you want. So we can all meet in the middle. I think you're talking more of, unfortunately, they're all in positions of power. The far left and the far right, where there's a huge gap.
But on the left,
I'm hoping
the
left,
the inmates are controlling the asylum.
Yes,
and until that changes, and they're doubling down. You see it right now. You'd think after the defeats that Governor Youngkin went in, and you're seeing what could happen in the midterms, you would expect some Bill Clinton type of pivot to saying, okay, we hear you. So we're going to alter our plans and come more, as you say, come more to you and partner a little bit on some things. You would think that.
Yeah.
Taking the Marino doctrine, you would think they would adopt that a little bit. Not pro-choice, become pro-life, but just coming in on some fiscal things and that sort of thing. You would expect it. They're doubling down on the far left wokester thing. They have clearly made the statement that they clearly don't fear what's going to happen in 2022. They don't care. Far left, the wokesters.
Now think
or 2024. So their
I want to
plan,
come back to that.
Their plan, I believe, and I think there's enough evidence to make this assumption that they are going to leave a scorched earth as much as they can. They're going to try to pack the court. They're going to try to get this far woke left stuff through, embed CRT into the educational ed code. Everything they can do on that far left agenda, they're going to try to do. They're not going to seek one iota to try to get compromise. And that's clear. And they say, well, what does that have to do with the FBI kicking down Trump's door? Everything. To think that a sitting president would be brought that idea, which we know he does. Don't buy this, that he didn't know it. Now, the DOJ had enough sense not to directly send him an email and this and that to keep the president out of that.
Yep.
But you're living in it. If you have that, I got some beachfront property in Erosi I'd like to sell you. He knew, and to think that was okay. This man, that shows you right there, he's unfit. He needs to go. Okay, go back to your line there. And we're not taking commercials on this. It's Guillermo's idea.
Yeah.
And I thank you for that, Guillermo, because this is that important of a subject of what's happened to this country, what happened last night. But go ahead. You want to finish your point.
So I want to challenge all.
Does it cost you money?
All of our listeners. Yeah, it does.
Commercial free.
I want to
big bucks flowing here to KXEX. You're just because you love your country.
I do love my country.
Go ahead.
And I want to warn, and maybe I should do this at the end, but I'm going to do it now. It can get a lot worse. I don't believe and you're going to need a couple more sips after what I say. I don't think the woke is in charge yet. The woke left is in charge yet. And I did a whole show on this. I said because the remnants of the establishment, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, they are a little lefty. They're not full-blown woke yet. They've been able to keep this woke movement at bay. I don't think we ain't seen nothing yet. You put AOC in charge of the gavel, and you put Rashida Tlaib in charge of these committees, I think we're in a whole different world. That's number one. Number two, I want to say this. I want to implore every single conservative, every single JFK Democrat, everybody, if the Republicans don't gain control of the House, and I'm not saying this because I want to come back into power. No. If Republicans don't take control and we don't have some type of balance in this country, Donald Trump won't run in 2024. Because I believe, and I don't want this to happen, they're so crazy that putting Trump in handcuffs or somehow making sure he never runs again will be a possibility. Now, you said earlier, like, hey, why, the left is, they should be doing that pivot, right? Why aren't they doing this pivot? They're not doing the pivot.
They hate America. Simple.
I don't.
They hate everything that America stands for. Guillermo, I know that's hard for you to believe. It's hard for me to believe. We grew up in a country, Bobby and I, in an era with all the turbulence in the 60s and 70s. Through both parties, there was a love for America. We knew we were living in an exceptional country.
Yeah, that's true.
We were not perfect. But we agreed, the right and the left agreed on many, many things.
Yeah.
And then the Vietnam War happened. Big corporations come in and start abusing their power. We had our stuff. But we all there was a love of country. There's a few outliers, a few, out there. But that is what's different now is we lost the war, we meaning those who love America, because we didn't realize what was happening. We couldn't believe that there was people out there that would come to this country, be in this country, get educated, be able to get a degree, to live their dream, the American dream in life, be provided that opportunity, achieve the American dream, and then hate the country that gave them that opportunity. We just refused to believe that there was that many people out there that after living the American dream, they would hate the American dream. And they got into the education system, and their goal was to control the societal influencers and power bases in this country. And they went to work, K through 12, infiltrate that and teach them that America's horrible. The college campuses, they turned woke. Wait, at Harvard, there's 83% professors. 82 of them are Democrat, one conservative. Then they decided, okay, we're going to get into the politics, obviously. Then entertainment. They infiltrated that with this ideology. And that's where we're at right now. You have an ideology that's inexplicable. You can't use common sense or rationale to understand it. But unless we understand and believe that it's here and it's well-funded and it's in very high places, it's in corporate America now, which carries more weight than the federal government now, that's flip-flopped, we're going to lose this country. The country that we know, we're going to lose it. And this is ahead of the prediction. There's a guy, a philosopher and an economist over in Russia, who said by 2040 or something, we would be gone as a democracy. We would be just pretty much like everybody else. The elite, the ruling elite, ruling the masses. And we're ahead of schedule. We're ahead of schedule. It's unfolding exactly like he said it would unfold. So you have to make a decision. I'm going the Crockett route. Davy Crockett, when those soldiers were coming over the thing, Davy Crockett,
to the last man.
He knew he was a dead man, but he kept swinging Betsy till they killed him. And even the Texans did that, and even the Mexican history books told about the bravery of the Texans. And Mexico and Texas became close. That's why the woke left can't understand Texas. Well, you got all these Hispanics that care about a secure border. They care about family. They care about God, family, country. What's happened to the Hispanics? Out in California, we got them under control. Mm-hmm. They hate America, just where we want them. They're living on welfare, just where we want them. Yeah. They're totally dependent on government, just like what's happening in Texas. Well, they have a rich history because the Texans are also Mexicans in that Alamo. Woke left didn't want you to know that.
It's true.
That we're fighting for an independent state. It was independence and freedom. They didn't like what Santa Anna was selling. Santa Anna was selling old-fashioned despotism. He was a ruling one-guy ruler. They didn't want that. Oh, you mean you put something above race? Yeah, back in the day they did. And the Alamo wound up not only inspiring white Texans, but a generation of Mexicans as well for the fight for freedom. And sometimes as we make our stand here, God willing, hopefully 10, 15, 20 years from now, we can make it in the history book. We'll have survived this. We can bring some semblance of what America used to be back, the individual liberties which were based upon God, family, country. But we got to fight. And I know it's how you.
I guess the problem is that does it get so far left that you can't bring it back, and that goes directly to what you're saying. Yeah, and it's, to me, it's really drifting that way. I mean, I hate to say that, but it's really drifting that way. Are we going to be able to get those values back and get those ideals back, get those principles back before everything goes to hell in a handbag? I don't know. And that's the scary part of the whole thing. And that's exactly what you're saying. Yeah. How far does it have to go to
the point of no return?
To the point of no
return.
Yeah. And if it gets there, in other words, do we have to tear it down to bring it back? Does it have to fall apart to bring it back?
Well, Tom, you read Thomas Sowell. Thomas Sowell said,
great man,
5, 6, 7 years ago, in one of his books, he said, we're already gone. We'll never get it back.
Could be.
And the guy was interviewing him. He says, well, isn't that, how can you say that? He goes, because my readers want the truth, what I think. And he goes, well, do you have any kind of optimism about the future? And he, in inimitable Thomas Sowell fashion, he says, yes, there's always a chance I could be wrong. And he just sat there so steadfast. Gosh, I love him. Read some Thomas Sowell, folks. I suggest
read
conflict
his
of
history.
vision. Yes,
read his history, if nothing else.
What no one is talking about, and I want to make sure that we reiterate it here, is that elections matter.
Ooh.
Okay, in a couple of months, I don't want to be sitting where we were in 2020, thinking, "Oh yeah, there's no way this is going to happen. America knows they can choose." And we wake up and we look at the amount of Democrat power on the next day. We keep talking about Trump. We keep talking about the woke. We keep talking about the right. We keep forgetting. And I've been on this train since 2020. If we don't get our elections straight, they're going to control power forever. The reason why, Alan, the reason why the left hasn't pivoted yet, and remember I kept saying, I was like, what is it? Why isn't the left more worried? Why aren't they? What are they up to? They're like that little kid that you haven't heard in the house. And you're like, okay, he's either in the pickle jar, he's throwing baby powder everywhere. What is the left doing? And the left right now knows where they're gonna do this coming election. I am very afraid that the left is gonna remain in power. And then you start looking at these fake polls that are saying that Americans right now are evenly split right now, 50-50 Republicans, 50-50 Democrats. And I'm thinking to myself, how in the heck is that possible?
Well, let me put forth what I hope that this is true. My Thomas Sowell side of me says it's wishful thinking. But my prayer is there's enough traditional Democrats, and I include the old-fashioned liberals, the Bernie Sanders types in this, because they've ostracized Bernie. You don't even hear about it.
Oh, yeah.
Is that there's enough left in that party that Joe Manchin saw this last night, what happened, and said that's a bridge too far. That is, you've crossed the Rubicon there. I hope there's enough Democrats that I grew up with that this has said to them, they said this is too much, and I'm definitely going to vote the other way. I'm going to cross. It happened with Reagan because the Carter years did it to a lot of Democrats. They said we cannot put up with this anymore. They call them Reagan Democrats. Is what got him in office, right?
Yep.
Bobby? And it's going to happen here. And I think the one upside, this thing in the Bible, what man meant for evil, God meant for good. This was an evil act by the FBI. If you consider personal liberties, and the rule of law important to you, if you don't, I'm just gibberish here.
But you're
So
assuming
I'm hoping that this will wake up the Republican base and the Democrat, common sense Democrats, and then on the midterms, they will send a message to the woke left. You've gone way too far. And then I pray that the Republicans, if they do control the House, there's going to have to be some investigations, going to have to be some special counsels put together, that they don't let just raw, unbridled anger rule the day, that they get back to things like securing the border.
they have to.
They have to do something.
This has to be last.
They have to do something.
This has to be last in their agenda. You help the American family.
Yeah. Jim Jordan, all you guys out there, Matt Gay, all this. Let me go berserk. Let me get triggered.
Yeah.
You guys just go make America better.
Exactly.
Amen.
I'll get triggered enough for you on this.
That's my biggest fear. Well, I don't know if it's a fear. It's my biggest concern is that the Republicans do get back in the majority, and
we don't do anything.
Spend all their time getting revenge.
Yeah, and do what?
Yeah.
You need to be productive.
But then let me ask you this: just playing the odds. You never know which of these people are going to go. I mean, Republicans. Yeah. But doesn't it make more sense if you love America and you love individual liberties to roll the cast of lots with the Republicans? We know what the Democrats do to a country. We know when they have all three branches of government. We see what happened. We're living with it.
Yeah.
So hey, you got to make a change.
Alan,
it's like when a team's 0-16, the coach has got to go.
Got to be the quarterback. The coach, I guess.
Yeah, the coach has to go.
It has to be a fair game, Alan. A fair game. We could go ahead and convert as many, but if at the end of the day they control the way elections are done, and if they can stuff the ballots as they did in 2020,
now you got a whole different
doesn't matter how many JFK Dems have voted for us. I don't trust, and it's not every state, because states do their elections.
But you got the populous states that have a lot of electoral votes. That is very iffy.
This is a math problem.
The system is iffy.
Alan, this is a math problem, and the left knows where they can get away from it. Get away with it.
Math is racist, don't you know?
It is very racist.
Why do you bring up a racist subject on this show?
we got to talk about it.
2 + 2 is not 4. You're a man of color. You should know that.
Yeah. Well,
2 + 2 is 7.
You know that because
2 is 7. I always thought it was when I was a kid. That's why I
did bonehead math with you. Me and Pearl bonehead math. Folks, we love you. Hang in there. Stay strong. You're up for the fight. Keep the good fight, as Apostle Paul said. Fight the good fight. We're going to do that. Autry's Army, love you all. God bless you. Just do your best and let God do the rest. And good Lord willing, we'll see you tomorrow on Wednesday. Bye-bye now.
Keep smiling until